Hello and welcome to this first video in Chapter 12. Now Chapter 12 deals with what are called rational expressions. We're going to actually start with a quick review of polynomials. Now I call this section 12.0. This is not in our text. I've just included this here because a lot of this material on polynomials is going to play an important role for things to come. Okay, so let's just start by recalling what a polynomial looks like. Okay, these things look like something like this, maybe 4x cubed minus 2x squared plus 3x minus 7. Okay, so this is an example of a polynomial, and what makes something a polynomial is, well, you have some variable, say x, and notice, right, the exponents here, these are positive whole numbers, right? So 3, 2, there's really an exponent there of 1. Okay, now these numbers 4, -2, 3, and -7, we refer to those as coefficients. Okay, and now if I contrast something like this to, say, something like 7 times the square root of x, now a square root's equivalent to saying x to the 1/2 power. Okay, and since this exponent, 1/2, is not a whole number, right? This thing, in fact, is not a polynomial. Okay, so we have to have positive whole numbers there for the exponents. Okay, great. So now let's look at number 1 on our worksheet where we're asked to simplify each expression. Okay, this is really asking us to combine like terms. Okay, so looking at part A, what I'm going to do, right, I'm taking x squared minus 3x plus 7, and then I'm subtracting from that 5x minus 7. So what I'm going to do is first just open parentheses. Okay, so this negative here will distribute from the distributive property, and that's going to give us this expression, x squared minus 3x plus 7. And then when we distribute the negative, we're going to come out to be minus 5x. And then careful here, a minus a -7. That is plus 7. Okay, and now we can go ahead and combine like terms to finish. And so I have my x squared term there. And then notice I have a minus 3x and a minus 5x. So I'm going to combine those as minus 8x. All right, and then notice I have a plus 7 and a plus 7. So these two terms, the 7 and the 7, that without a variable, we usually refer to those as the constant terms. So combining our constant terms, we're going to get a plus 14. All right, so that would do it for part A. And one more note here on terminology. So if we have a polynomial with just one term, okay, we often refer to that as a monomial, mono meaning one, so something like just 5x. Okay, if we have two terms, we call that a binomial. Bi is 2, so something like 5x plus 7. And then finally trinomials, those are polynomials with 3 terms, so something like x squared plus 5x plus 7. Okay, so here in our answer to part A, right, we have 3 terms for our polynomial, so we would call this a trinomial. Okay, great. Well, let's go ahead now and do part B. Pretty similar, so I'm going to start off again with opening parentheses. I'll distribute this 2y squared, and that's going to give us, well, 2y squared times 4y, that'd be 8y cubed. And then 2y squared times a -9, that would be a minus 18y squared. Okay, and then over here, I'm going to go ahead and distribute the negative y. Okay, and notice here it's the y as well as this negative here in front. That entire thing will distribute. And that's going to give us what? Well, negative y times a positive 8, that'd be a minus 8y. And then a negative y times a negative y, so negative times a negative it gives us a positive and then a y squared. Okay, great. So now we can go ahead and combine like terms like we did before in part A. We have an 8y cubed. Okay, and now notice we have for the square terms a negative 18y squared and a positive y squared. So combining those, we will get a negative 17y squared. All right, great. And then finally, we just have our minus 8y. All right. So that right there would be it. Okay. And again, we have three terms. This would be a trinomial for the answer there. Okay. Cool. Okay, let's move on then and look at part C next. So C is z squared minus the quantity z plus 4 squared. So for this problem, I'm going to go ahead and look at this part of the expression, the z plus 4 quantity squared, off to the side, because there's a few comments to be made about this. Okay, the first thing is that, well, if I'm going to square the z plus 4, this is a binomial, by the way, so if I'm squaring this binomial, then that means multiply z plus 4 by itself. That's what it means to square something. Okay, now to open this up, we're going to go ahead and apply the distributive property. And this process is also known as FOIL, if you've seen it written that way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and distribute the z in to each term on the right. So that's going to give us a z squared from the z times z, and then z times 4 would give us a plus 4z. And then we're going to go ahead and distribute this 4. And that's going to give us, well, 4 times z is a, go ahead and just stay consistent there color-wise, 4z, and then finally 4 times 4, that'd be a 16. All right, and then we go ahead and combine like terms. We have a 4c and a 4z, so that's going to combine to give us a z squared plus 8z plus 16, okay? All right, so now a couple comments here. Now maybe Math 94 or some other place you might have seen a shortcut for squaring a binomial, and if that's something you recall and are comfortable with, by all means you can use it. Okay, I've just gone ahead and really just done this kind of from first principles by just squaring and then distributing and all that. But you'll notice here that shortcut would be z squared. So just square the first term. The middle term of 8z would come from what? Well, we did 4 times z, right? But then we got 2 of those. So you do 4 times z is 4z and then double, and there's your 8z. And then finally 4 squared is 16. But in any event, this right here, this trinomial, is the result of squaring out this binomial z plus 4. So now let's come back to the original expression. We have z squared minus, now I'm going to leave parentheses in for the moment, and there's an important point to be made here, just something to really watch out for. And the point being made here is that this negative applies to all the terms in parentheses, okay? So we are going to distribute this negative to all 3 terms in here, okay? So that's going to give us z squared minus z squared, and then minus 8z minus 16. And then you'll notice, well, z squared minus itself, right? These are going to cancel out to just give us a 0. So when all is said and done on part C, we're left with a minus 8z minus 16. And that's going to do it for part C. Okay, great. Well, we're going to stop there. We will pick up with questions 2 and 3 in the next video.